The mid-market area of San Francisco was a ghost town.
This building had sat here essentially vacant for the better part of a decade. Not a lot of great stuff goes on when you've got an entire city block dark.
But one developer saw a golden opportunity to repurpose the historic landmark.
The bones of that building are spectacular.
It had excellent public transportation, a number of residential projects that had already been approved.
It was still a risky bet in a bad neighborhood.
You're essentially buying about a 1.1 million square foot building that's entirely empty.
But then Twitter came, sharing in the vision for the building and the neighborhood. And the momentum started.
People dusted off their permits and their plans in and around the neighborhood.
It was like the planets were in alignment.
A new and desirable area to live, work, and play emerged in an unlikely part of town with an obsolete furniture mart turned Class A office space at the heart and the headquarters of one of the most well-known tech companies in the world. The site includes 2 properties on 3 acres, 1355 Market Street, the original building, and 110th Street, right behind.
I think what helped get the project started was the City of San Francisco passed a payroll tax exemption for an area in and around the Civic Center, also known as the mid-market area.
Twitter would be the first tech company to make a play on the dicey area of town.
One of the things that drew Twitter to the building is the 80,000-foot floor plates.
A lot of work would have to be done to turn an obsolete furniture mart into a Class A office building with the capacity for a tech tenant.
This building, even though it's 800,000 square feet, there were only 4 elevators that served the 11 floors. One of the first things we had to do to make this a Class A office building was to put in a whole new elevator core.
A new second lobby replaced an old parking entrance with 6 additional elevators. The new elevator core was also the heart of a seismic retrofit with shear walls added all the way around going up to the 11th floor. A great hall in the interior connects the new lobby with the original restored one.
The space before always had this Art Deco lobby space. And there had been very early on a temptation to try to extend that Deco identity through the building. We realized that would just be a mistake, that what would be best would be to contrast that against the underlying bones of the building.
Other elements of the original building were used to reinforce authenticity.
So the top of the building had, during World War II, a wood addition put onto it because there was no steel available. But that wood addition no longer conformed with the existing code.
We demolished that section of the 9th floor. We repurposed those for really what I'm just calling as one of the vocabulary pieces of the architecture.
There used to be an old post office within the building. The post office boxes were repurposed as artwork in the building. Where we have a rectangle in the Great Hall, there used to be a circle with an escalator going up.
We took the old column cladding and treated that as a 3-dimensional sculpture on the new lobby.
I think everywhere we had the choice, we made a qualitative choice rather than a dollar cost savings choice. And I think that's reflected in the lobbies. And quite frankly, I think it's reflected in the quality of the tenants that you have in the building.
Twitter would eventually enter into a second lease for 110th Street.
That went from having tiny little porthole windows to having floor-to-ceiling vision glass.
The alley between the buildings became a key feature in the design.
We really decided to spend a lot more money there because we felt it was necessary for both buildings to work together and to create a public amenity.
Since the redevelopment of Market Square, there are now 4,500 new residential units in a 3-block radius.
What used to be an area that you wouldn't want to be in after 5 o'clock is now a 7-by-24 neighborhood.
I think there's a real kind of symbiotic relationship between the success of those residential projects and our own office and retail space.
We wanted to make sure that retail not only served the tenants in the building, but serve the people in the neighborhood.
We're in a food desert. The nearest grocery store is Whole Foods a mile that way or Whole Foods a mile that way.
The Market on Market is a grocery retail anchor.
We saw a fundamental shift in the way younger people shop, and it's a lot of grab and go.
You can go eat cheese and charcuterie. You can have some grilled chicken. You can also buy everything in the market.
The building also includes 3 restaurants, a pharmacy, a bank, and a fitness center.
When you look across 9th Street, you see that Dolby Laboratories purchased a building When you look at 1455 Market, you see where Square and Uber signed leases and have grown.
What was most exciting about this is the renovation of the neighborhood, and it being the linchpin for all of Mid-Market and the Civic Center.
I think it's kind of a risk reward. I think we took a tremendous risk going into this neighborhood at the time that we did. There was no certainty that the payroll tax exemption was going to be passed. There was no certainty that Twitter, Dolby, Square would move into the neighborhood. But there was a belief that the real estate we were acquiring had good bones, it had a good structure. And if we completed the renovation that we were planning on completing, we would be able to provide a product in a part of San Francisco that previously didn't have anything this nice available. As a result, I think we've been very satisfied with the way the project turned out.